I'm Michelle Graves, your host on today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm glad to have you here. Now, at The Power of Money, we are interested in three things happening. First, we want you to get the necessary education so that you and your family can make the decisions that will impact positively on you in your financial life. The second thing is that you be empowered to prosper. I only want the best for you. And you can only get that if you have education and then the drive to make it happen. And the third thing that is so important to me is that you recognize that life is more than a journey and that you be energized so that you can begin to participate in the truly joyous experience of living. So, here's to empowerment, here's to education, and here's to energy. I'm Michelle Graves, your host, Power of Money, and here we go. And here we go, and it is my delight and honor and privilege to be here today. To all of you, my faithful viewers, over the many, many years I've been on the air, I want to say thank you today. Thank you. I may not have an opportunity to say thank you again, but today I say thank you for your loyalty and for your faithfulness to listen in on whatever venue you watch The Power of Money with Michelle Graves. I've been blessed to be on DATV for going on 9 years, and prior to that, I was on television out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Again, wonderful relationships. The people at DATV are absolutely wonderful. My producer, Ben Artis, is just beyond over the top. Melody Constantine, again, at the station, is a wonderful producer as well. And they keep it tight. And I love that about them because I am a woman of excellence and I don't like stuff looking crazy. And they are always handling it well. So today's subject matter, I'm going to be talking about who can you trust? And this comes out of all of the things that are happening in our world system today, including the war on Ukraine, which is now moving into 2 weeks, the COVID with all of the people that have crossed over, 950,000 and counting. People are still dying in record numbers. All the other things that constitute the times we're in, identity theft. Halt, let me say right now to everybody watching, if you are an Amazon customer, beware, because your information, I don't know how they're doing it, but people are getting calls after they place orders, and people are getting calls just randomly saying they placed orders. Do not respond to any of that because you are effectively being hacked. Really. I know of 3 cases this past week talking about the subject of the changing times and who can I trust, where people lost out of their bank accounts in less than an hour after they gave the information to a hacker who called to confirm an order they had placed. Now, that's bizarre because that means that they have penetrated into the shipping system. And of course, Amazon says they don't know anything about it because they wouldn't. But do not respond to texts, any kind of text, from people that you know not of. And if Amazon did ship, then you can always call them and confirm. They will usually send it to you in an encrypted mode on your email. They will not be sending you texts and all that kind of thing. But because technology is moving so fast, we don't know. But I will tell you that in the past week, I've had 3 associates who should have known better, but it moved fast, and their bank accounts were wiped out. Now, the banks are restoring them, but boy, what a headache, because they gave their social security numbers, they gave their address, they gave their information, bank account. They gave enough information for a hacker to sell it into the dark web. And then all kinds of things are going to begin to take place. They froze their credit reporting file, which you would want to do. Just shut it down. so that no potential lender will see it, and just it has to say identity theft, filing of charges. Good luck with this, because hackers are very mobile. I'm bringing this up in front because this plays right into what I'm talking about today regarding who can I trust, where clearly you can't trust your phone and you need to be aware. I get junk all the time on my iPhone, which is one of the reasons I got it, so that I wouldn't have to be bothered with scammers, with sex sites, with all kinds of stuff. And I've gotten an Amazon. I have as well. And I was like, I haven't ordered anything from them. But it was so tight and so done well that you'd want to call and see what's going on. Don't do it. Protect yourself. That is a person you cannot trust. It is somebody on the other end who is a stranger getting ready to take all of your money. Right. How you like that? All of your money. Boom, bam, done. So moving right along, which is the subject of who can I trust, and I thought I would just jump that in so that you would know a little better. Be careful about all of your stuff, particularly seniors. When you go into the grocery store or to the gas, and I do tell people pay gas on a credit card and not a debit card, you don't know who's looking at you. You don't know anything. So I tell people, if you're going to use a debit card, which is an immediate access, what you don't want is for people to know your PIN. So don't put the PIN number on your debit card. It seems simple, but it happens. And also, don't allow other people to see you keying in your PIN number. Okay? Don't do it. And better still, if you did a credit card, well, they couldn't do much because credit card is much tighter than debit. But I'm saying to you at the gas pump, if you're going to do a debit, you make sure you cover that area with your hand and key the number in. Okay? I'd rather you do credit, but if you must do debit because you don't have a credit card, just protect yourself. Please. It is a mega billion-dollar industry, and it's based upon our presumptive thinking, which is, oh, this couldn't happen to me. Watch yourself. As the song says, watch yourself. Okay? Watch yourself. So, again, getting back into this trust factor, those people are strangers. Period. You don't know them from Adam's house cat, and they don't know you, and they don't care. They don't care. Okay? The bank would be your closest ammunition, but again, there are things you have to have in place with them. When I go overseas, I always put an alert on. Did you know your bank needs to know when you are going out of the country? Why? Because transactions may come in they don't recognize, and then an alert will go out. Well, if you haven't notified them, they may freeze your account. You say, why are they freezing my account? Because they're trying to save you. They are. They're trying to save you. So you let your bank know when you're going out of the country, specifically because ATMs, automatic teller machines, are all over the world, and you can access your information, and so can anybody else if they have your information. They can get your money. Bam! Done. And you're there crying, trying to figure out what you're going to do. Do not make your driver's license freely available. Keep it with you, along with your Social Security and your Medicare card. These are cards that you don't want to be pulling out unless they are necessary. And many times they're necessary because of fraud, although all of the states are tightening up on the ability of a person to access your driver's license. In the state that I live in, they have a hologram. They have all kinds of stuff to try to keep people from faking your stuff. Because you can say, well, what's on a driver's license? Why don't you look at it and see? They can put on a different face. They have vital information. They don't put the social security number on, but your address is on, which can be cross-linked to other information about you, and they can begin to provide a profile. And if they're really, really diligent, they can actually find your social security number if you've had any legal activity in the past. Because in the past, you had to put all that information on. When you apply for a mortgage, all that information is on your mortgage. When you apply for a car loan, all that information was on your car loan. So believe me when I tell you, your private affairs are not so private anymore. So why help the thief? I tell people this all the time. Why are you helping the thief? Watch yourself, okay? Check yourself and make sure you're not in that situation. I didn't mean to get off on that, but it came up as I was thinking about talking about this issue of trust and why it is so important, and why you could trust a stranger that you know nothing of and give information to a stranger and then flip it. And when I talk to you about who do you trust with regard to your financial affairs, and you look at me like I'm from, Mars or somewhere, like, what? Yeah. Let's start with, and the reason being is because you're going to need somebody that you can trust not to be a thief. Oh my God. Family members included. In fact, family members mostly. That's where we find a lot of the thievery that takes place in families against the elderly are their family members. Why? Because they have not subjected their family members to the process known as who can I trust? And just because you're Bill's son and you got an MBA does not mean that you won't steal my stuff. Happens every single day. It's the most tragic thing I've ever experienced. And I have had it happen. Not to me, but I've seen it happen enough around me with other family members to let you know that it could happen. Okay? Why do you want to take the time to look critically at anybody you're going to get involved with? And listen, you're going to have to figure it out. I'm going to give you some recommendations and some thoughts, but ultimately you're going to have to figure it out. I will start with one thing, though, that must be crisp and clear. Whoever you trust had better be trustworthy. The Bible says you better know who you labor among. You better know people. And that's more than the superficialities of, oh, they have this job and they have this skill. Will they steal your money? Will they steal your identity? Will they mess you up? Yeah, there are people that do this every single day. And they're not on American Greed and all those TV shows. Those are big timers. There are people that steal money every day to pay their bills. That is why if you have people coming in your home to care for you, you already know, do not have all your stuff out. That's why you have a lockbox. If you have precious coins and jewelry, and a person has a thieving heart, why would you do that? Why would you tempt them? Well, they shouldn't be like that. Oh my gosh, but they are. So you're going to be the victim because they shouldn't be like that? No, put your valuables away. You can put them in a lockbox at home. You can put them in a place where they know not of. And whatever you do, don't tell them. Your checkbooks and things should not be visible and accessible to people that are strangers. Well, she takes good care of me. I just bet she does. Or I just bet he does. And when you're without your jewelry, now that I can speak on, because I used to have, and I say past tense, I used to have gold, real gold jewelry. I liked gold jewelry. Also, because at that time you could get gold relatively cheap out in other countries, and I'd buy it and I'd wear it and I'd use it. But I'm here to tell you, after housekeeper number 1 stole a bunch of jewelry and denied it to her dying days, I don't know what you're talking about. And then housekeeper number 2 stole my pearls, the real ones. I don't know what you're talking about. Then you know what? I just said, I'm not wearing anything. So here I am with nothing, and I still love these things. But I am not going to put any of my trust. And you can say, well, did you screen them? I had an agency to send them. They screened them. Were they bonded? Yes, they were. Did they steal? Yes, they did. Is this going to be your experience? I don't know. But I do know that once it happens to you and it's gone for good, then you know to be careful about who you trust. Some of the things you need to do, again, as the Bible says, know those that labor among you, which is you got to know people. You got to vet people. I'm not prepared to say that a poor person will steal from you more than a rich person will. A rich person steals for the thrill. The poor person steals for the need. So again, you have to be willing to look at people carefully. So let's start with your family, and it starts with this. I don't care whether they're direct, grandchildren, or what, but you do want to look at their lifestyles. Under no circumstances should you invade, in terms of your consideration, should you, I shouldn't say the word invade because that sounds harsh, but should you ignore obvious red flags? For example, if they're always borrowing money from you because they can't manage their affairs properly, and when they're young and in their 20s, that's just part of the trade because they got to figure it out, and they overspend, they overbudget, they have wants that far exceed their needs, they may be dealing with children, they just never seem to have enough money. But if they're always hitting you up for money and you put them in charge of your affairs, expect them to consider that free and open resource, and they're just going to get it, okay? If you leave things laying around, because that's my grandchild, and you don't seal things up, count on one of them being a thief, maybe 2, but you're going to be brokenhearted and shocked when you begin to see how your precious, loving grandchild that you doted on when they were babies, and note they were babies, not grown people, not teenagers. You can't do it. Leave it alone. If you look at their parents, and their parents are like the grandchildren, the parents are not good budgeters. The parents don't have anything after all these years on earth. They don't have any savings. They don't have any resources. Their house looks like just, I don't even know. You already know. Don't do that. Love them, but don't do that. Don't put them on your stuff. Don't name them on your stuff because you're going to be sorry. Now, there are friends of mine who have wonderful sons and daughters. And I'm blessed. I've got a wonderful son and 2 wonderful daughters. But again, don't put yourself in harm's way. You may be better off to skip the family thing entirely and look at a trusted friend who's been faithful to you for all these years. They've never stolen. They've never done anything. You may want to consider that as a choice, okay? If you do have children and you do name them on your affairs, keep an eye on your stuff. Don't make assumptions. Let me give you a case study. This is a true study, and the names of the affected have been changed because I don't want to be sued. Situation: 88-year-old man, well situated, dapper, smart. He's the bomb. His second wife has a child who's kind of but the child has a child. And that child is a hardworking girl, but she's greedy. There's signs that she's like, I'm going to spend this money anyway. Long story short, he removed a good power of attorney off of his legal instrument, a person that was diligent, trained, and a family member, and he put this girl on his POA. And lo and behold, she was not that dumb, because thieves never are. And first thing she did with his POA was to buy a brand new car and to have it financed under his name, since she was the POA. So she's got a new car and she's happy, and she's like, oh, I really like this. So the next thing she did, perfectly legal, because a power of attorney, in my opinion, is a very, very, very powerful document, because it gives you become that person, and you're able to transact all kinds of business, including financial, in what's known as a durable power of attorney. So she refinanced his home in a very upscale part of the city, okay? She refinanced it. It was a paid off home. And she refinanced it, and she took all the money and just did her thing. He, not knowing that she had done this, because the address she gave for all billings to be sent to for payments was not the address that he lived in. So he never knew that any of this was happening. He didn't know about the car, and he didn't know about all this cash. Bottom line, the house goes to foreclosure. This is a true story, ladies and gentlemen. It goes to foreclosure. And the only way he knew is because one of his family members saw the notice in the paper that the bank was foreclosing on this beautiful property. Right, 3 months, no payments, foreclosed. Money gone, have a good day. I get a call. Like, what the heck is happening here? That's your family member. My response is, nobody told me anything. I don't know anything. And if I don't know, he probably at now 89 doesn't either. Long story short, I got involved. And I'm going to tell all of you thieves out there, you need to know, if I get involved, I'm pushing for jail time for you. I'm not looking for you to say, forgive me, because that does not restore a person financially. This man was out of close to $200,000, okay? So my immediate thing was to see if we could press charges. And again, long story short, took him to the top attorney for fraud, and he sat in front of the attorney and told the attorney with tears in his eyes that, well, I don't think she knew what she was doing, and I don't want to press criminally. And the attorney looked at me, and I looked at the attorney, and I said, thank you so much for your time, and send me the bill, because he doesn't have any money now. So, long story short, I told him, you don't have to give me consent, because I'm going to do this. I contacted the bank on the foreclosure. That was the first thing. There was fraud involved, and the bank stopped the foreclosure. But they didn't stop their demand for the money. And he did not have the money, because under the terms of the loan, when you are 3 months delinquent, the loan accelerates and you got to settle with the bank in full. A lot of you don't even read your contracts. You just signed the note to get a mortgage. You better read the contract and see what the bank can do in terms of getting their collateral, because they loaned you the money and they got the house as collateral, and if you don't pay the money, they have the right to settle up and get their money back. So they stopped the foreclosure. Whew! Oh, he would not be on the streets. Second thing, contacted the car company. Another bank. Told them what happened. They said, not a problem. We're going to take the car. And we're going to do that post haste. And while she was working, the snatch man, for those of you that don't know what a snatch man is, because you've been living in a cave for 60 years, a snatch man is a person who the bank contracts with who does nothing but take cars. He repossesses the car. So that beautiful car was snatched while she was at work. Oh, she was livid, because I got word of it. I can't believe, who would steal my car? The bank will steal your car for fraud. So we had to sell the house, and the bank forgave the car loan. And in selling the house, and it sold very quickly at that time because it was in a very upscale community, we were not able to net a lot, but we were able to net enough for him to move out and to start all over. But mind you, his credit report was now messed up because she had done this. But we were able to work through all of that, get him into a place, decorate, and all of that. The story, the end game here is this. All of this could have been avoided if he was not moving off of his emotions and if he was not hurt by his power of attorney, the person he had appointed, that he had a miscommunication, bad communication, but the person was doing their job. And behind all of this that happened, this 89-year-old man found himself looking at losses, and a niece, me, that was livid because I don't have time to clean up your mess. And for most people, they don't even have somebody they can call to do that. They're just stuck. And that's what's happening with all the billions of dollars that are being lost right now with identity theft, with scams, etc. Who can you trust? And I'm going to tell you, he had a person he could trust, and he had a disputing, but it had nothing to do with the integrity of the person, and he wound up almost losing everything. And for the record, he crossed over. The stress of all of it put him in a grave in less than 2 years. He was gone. He never recovered from that. He never did. He never recovered because he could not believe that he was the victim of such treachery at the hands of a, quote, family member. And as I shared with him, but why? Why did you do? Well, Michelle, in the day I grew up, but we're not back there. We're here. And you do not trust people who have not given you any history of trust. Her lifestyle, if you were a keen observer, suggested that she wasn't a good manager of money. And since she was always coming to you for money to help her with her rent, to help her with her child care, to help her, that does not speak well of her character. It tells you that that person is probably a thief and has a thieving heart. And you went for it. You got caught up in emotions that were misplaced. So what am I saying about today? You want to look at people carefully. If you don't have any family members, you want to look at maybe a trusted friend to do these kind of things for you. Why? Because they love you, okay? If you don't have anybody that loves you, period. You may want to look at the church, the pastor. Now, before I get phone calls from pastors saying, no, you didn't, I'm going to tell you that many seniors have been faithful tithers to your church for a long time. They have given money to your church for a long time. They have been active. They have been the cooks, may I remind you, in church events. They have served the church. So why can't you help them? And if you're not willing to help them, perhaps you can recommend them to a good attorney, because that's also a person who can be named for all of your financial documents. You can name an attorney who can handle your affairs. And I didn't say free, okay? Because attorneys don't work free. In fact, nobody works free. Can I bust that bubble up right now? Nobody works free. Attorneys have to be paid for their time and the professionalism that they are, what they went through. Even your pastor, who is responsible for your souls, is paid. Why? Because that's work. Dealing with a congregation is work, because everybody's all over the place, and pastors really have a tough time. The third person is your bank. Most banks have trust departments, and that means they're accustomed to being trustees, and they know the fiduciary requirements of signing off on documents. You can always get a notary at the bank who has a fiduciary responsibility to validate who you are, okay? I'm a notary, but I don't notarize much because, again, it's a service. You don't make any money being a notary. But a bank does have, in most cases, your larger banks have trust departments, and they will tell you what their fees will be. Okay, now don't pass out. Don't pass out, okay? Because when you worked in the workplace, you got paid, didn't you? And if you didn't get paid, you were going to quit your job. Even if you did day work, they had to pay you, okay, for your time, effort, and energy to clean their homes, to do the things that they needed done. I'm talking direct. Young people, day work means what we call today as I get cleaning service. Well, in the day, you actually had people that did this. They kept your house clean. You had butlers, you had maids. If you had means, you had people that did this. So now they're more sophisticated, but they are paid too. They're not coming in your house clean and free. They're not going to do daycare free. They're not going to do your activities of daily living, transferring you, cooking, cleaning, all that, driving you here or there. That's not free. And before you say, but that's too expensive. Well, expensive is interpretive. How much would you pay someone to do what you're not able to do anymore? I have to have that conversation with a lot of people because they don't think a person that washes and cooks and cleans is worth $25 an hour, because that's what people are paying caregivers from outside to come in. That's a lot of money. Well, then do it yourself and see what it's really worth. Because at the point you can't walk, $25 is pretty cheap, okay? I'm just saying. The point you can't get out of the bed, $25 is pretty cheap. So again, let's fast forward to where we are today. Who I can trust. I've given you the bank, the attorney, the pastor, close personal friend. When you're looking at family, look at the history. Look at whether they have shown themselves to be trustworthy, because if not, that's not going to be a good selection. With your children, proceed with great care. There's usually one that is a good person in terms of loving and attention. And you want to make sure that that person knows of your intent. Do not name anyone as your trusted advisor, as your power of attorney, as your executor or executrix on a will or a trustee on a trust if you don't have confidence in their ability to do you right. Now, as I said at the beginning, I believe that's why a lot of people haven't done wills, because they really don't know anybody they can trust. And I say, well, the person that prepared your will can be your trusted advisor, the attorney. You can name them. Yeah, they're going to get paid, but everybody's going to get paid anyway, because unless you're licensed to do this and to do it properly, and I did not say downloading from the internet a template. Oh, no, you're not going to practice law in a law-abiding country. There are thousands of attorneys that will come after you for that. Don't do it. Just pay the money. It's not a lot. Name the attorney and go on with your life. Okay? That's my thinking. But let's talk about all these financial documents that are so important, that are often overlooked, but become very essential as you move through certain periods of your life. When you're young and you don't have a lot and you have a car, you want to make sure that the car title is proper. Okay? Young people die too. COVID told us that. Young people can cross over too. So again, if they have a mortgage, again, you want to make sure that the mortgage, that the title has what we call a TOD, transfer on death. And that document, and you have to file it. You have to complete and file it. You can get the documentation from the county courthouse. But that needs to be filed, because upon your death, they can notify your heirs, and all they need to do is take their ID and your death certificate to the county building, and the deed is signed over to them. Doing this will keep your home from having to go through probate. There's also another legal term that is joint tenancy with right of survivorship. That will also pass that asset to the person who is your survivor. And again, these instruments are actually available at the county courthouse if you will ask for it. Okay? You don't have to be an attorney to get these instruments done. If you're uncomfortable doing it yourself, then contact an estate attorney. I said estate attorney, and have them tell them what you want and have that done. So, and again, you've got to identify who is going to take your house. Now, hold it, time out. The Joker is wild, which is he shows up everywhere. If you are planning on going into a nursing facility, not that you want it to, but it is going to require you to go on Medicaid. I did not say Medicare, which is health care. Medicaid is a federal program for poor people who cannot pay for their long-term care at a skilled nursing facility. There are other exceptions, but this is the primary use of Medicaid among seniors. If that's your plan, then just know that that deed can be challenged, because that house, while you're alive, is in your name. And the state has a right, as well as the federal government, if you're the last survivor, to seize that asset to settle up on your Medicaid. And before you say, that's horrible, you know what's horrible, ladies and gentlemen? This is a heartbreaker. What's horrible is that you don't have long-term care insurance. Purpose of insurance is to cover you for stuff you don't have together. That's all insurance. It's risk. It's managing risk. You have life insurance because you're going to die and because you don't have the money to pay for it. That's why you get life insurance. Also, it has other benefits. You can take money out to put down payment on a car, to pay bills, blah, blah, blah. Life insurance is risk management. Car insurance is risk management. If you get in a car wreck, the car is going to get fixed, paid for. You pay a deductible or no deductible, but that's car insurance. Fire insurance. If your house burns down, the fire insurance will pay within reason and per contract. This is all about risk. When you have to go into a facility because you don't have any money to pay for that private pay. They call it private pay. You're writing a check. Your spouse is writing a check. Your kids are writing a check. The nursing home has to be paid. Sorry about your situation, really. But the nursing home is a business. So you say, well, I live at home. Fine, live at home. But you're going to have to pay somebody, okay? Because people are just not going to show up and start, well, I use a nonprofit. Well, good luck with that. Because most people that are in that situation where they want to stay at home and use the services of a nonprofit are not going to get your best caliber workers. Why? Because high caliber LPNs can work elsewhere and get paid money, cash. So before going through all of this, just you can put this document in place, but if you don't die, and if other things come to bear, you're going to have to deal with that reality. And for many people, it's a shocker. They try to transfer the house to their kids. And I'm like, that is fraud. There's a 5-year look back right now, and it's getting ready to change. But for right now, it's 5 years. They can look back at all your financial activity, and if they see that, you will be disqualified, period, from Medicaid. Who wants that? Okay? So don't do that. Or I'm going to put in her name. If it doesn't meet the 5 years, you're in trouble. Don't do it. Okay? What you can do, if you really want to be like that, is your daughter can buy your house. Okay, just buy it and give you a lifetime estate in it, which means you can stay in the house as long as you want, blah, 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 blah. It's her home. Okay, she paid for it. Market value is her home. Those are strategies that professionals such as myself, we do this, we know this is how it works, but you don't ever touch fraud. Okay, you don't. While you're trying to figure out who you're going to trust, maybe the question is, can I trust myself? Or do I have a thieving heart? Well, I just don't want the government taking everything. Well, that's why you have alternatives. And your alternatives would be your long-term care insurance. But I don't like the premium. What do you know about the premium? It varies based upon your age, your health condition, and the carrier. I mean, it's not free, it's insurance, but it beats you shelling out the kind of money you're going to pay when you go into a skilled nursing facility or you try to pay someone out of your bank account from your home. This is called a TOD. That's what I've been talking about. You also want to make sure, while you're looking at people to trust, because these are all things you're going to deal with, you should name who is going to be your direct beneficiary on your bank account. That's known as a POD, payable upon death. The bank knows, just go and make sure you set that up, which means that the beneficiary need only go to the bank, present their identification and the death certificate. And I don't know if they will take copies or originals, but they'll probably take copies today. Again, the most sorrowful thing, and I've seen it, is when a person comes in because their mother has died and all the money is, a large amount of money is in her checking account, and he needs it to pay off certain things, and the bank says, we cannot help you. This account is gone to probate. Everything's sealed, safe deposit box, everything's sealed. What? That's my mother. Well, your mother didn't set it up properly. So we cannot do anything about this money. Okay, that's major. I've seen people go through it in front of me. They present their ID and the death certificate, and the bank says, we can't help you. This account has not been set up for a payable on death, POD. That's an easy, cheap way to keep that account out of probate. Okay? The third thing is, again, you need to know who your beneficiaries are going to be on that bank account. Okay? I mean, really, if you're giving someone cash and they're not required to share it, then you need to think carefully. A living will. These are things that require designations. Your attorney's going to talk to you about it, and that allows you to put in writing exactly what you want done in the event you cannot speak for yourself when it comes to healthcare decisions. That's major today. A lot of people on COVID intubated, meaning they had these things inserted to make them breathe, and they did not have their affairs in order. And when the doctors tried their best to keep them alive, because they're mandated to try to keep you alive unless you have a do not resuscitate order in place that is witnessed and dated, they're going to try to keep them alive. They're not in the business of killing people. They make an oath to keep people alive. Well, what if mom said don't do it and she didn't put that in place? Well, you're going to have to suffer through that. Or what if she did not have a living will? These things in the past you couldn't get from hospitals, but thank God, hospitals now, when you're admitted, they make sure you have all of these, quote, directives, meaning how you want your affairs directed. They make sure you have those in place. Another document that is so key, the durable power of attorney, which I talked to you about that anecdote. It wasn't an anecdote, it's the truth that happened, where it allows you to designate a person to make legal decisions if you're not competent to do so. It can also encompass financial decisions. Who accepts durable power of attorneys? Everybody. If you can give them a presentment that's duly witnessed, they're going to put you on as the durable, which means you have the power to handle all their affairs. But mind you, there's a caveat. It works when you're no longer competent to do something. The young lady that got him refinanced had told the bank that he was not competent, and therefore she was proceeding with his instructions, which is fraud. Same thing on the car. Powerful document, you have to name a POA. You cannot do a durable power of attorney, a financial power of attorney, without a POA, and preferably a successor POA, because the POA could die. And then what are you going to do? Okay, case in point, let me give you a situation. Husband and wife, all documents are in place, but they can't think of a successor POA. Time goes by. The wife has Alzheimer's. The husband is old and looking at the grave. If he predeceases her and she is in that situation, that's going to be a problem, because the appointment of someone for her, particularly with her condition, it's going to have to go to court. They're going to have to appoint a guardian to maintain her. And probably it's going to be the nursing home, unless the family can petition for one of them to take charge of her affairs. These things get muddied because people never look at the issue of who can I trust. Well, I trust her because she's my mate, or I don't trust her because she's my mate, therefore I trust Bill. Well, okay, what happens when Bill dies and you are not competent? Okay, what happens then? The court is not going to do another durable and name her, because you didn't name her to begin with. Okay, so power of attorney for health care. This is another document. It allows one person to designate someone to make health care decisions for them. You don't think that's important today? It is very important that you have someone who you can trust to designate your care based upon your health condition. Yeah. I don't have to tell you about your last will and testament, because that most important document determines whether your estate is going to settle easily or you're going to have to probate everything, which is the state's going to get involved. A last will and testament, in my opinion, is the most powerful document available for those who have transitioned. The power of attorney is the most powerful document for those who are still alive. You cannot use a power of attorney when you've died. It ends on the date you take your last breath time, and then you move into the last will and testament, and who you have named as your executor or your executrix. Are you learning a little bit about this? Is it helping you? Because my time is wrapping up. Funeral planning declaration. This is very important, and it's fairly recent. It allows you to say exactly your wishes as far as the disposition of the body and the services. You would be shocked at the number of people that do not want you cremated. Your family members. She said she wasn't in the right mind. Look, that's why you have that declaration. If all of these documents are in place, you can get through this. A couple of final things. You want to make sure you have all your bank accounts, all investment institution accounts, with beneficiaries named, lists of credit cards, utility accounts, with clear instructions as to how and when these things are paid. Make sure your heirs know where your life insurance policies are, and prayerfully you did not put them in the safe deposit box of the bank, which will lock them upon their notification of your death, and they're notified every morning before you even work up. They get a list of everybody that's died. Make sure everybody knows someone you trust, not everybody, knows your Apple ID, your bank ID, account logins, and passwords. Actually, my grandson, Bradley, who is very smart, knows where all this stuff is. And if you are not able to verbalize it, put it in a notebook or someplace safe. In closing, who can I trust? You see all these documents that require you to name people that you can trust to make sure your affairs are in order, to minimize the pain to the family, because the only person that's going to be experiencing pain from our lack of diligence is going to be the family, and trying to get this mess worked out. I wish all of you the very, very best. Hopefully you will take care of these things, attend to these. Don't forget your 401ks, your 403bs, and your rollovers. All of those have beneficiary designations. Make sure they're up to date, because if you cross over and there's no one available, it will pour into your estate as a probatable asset. I'm Michelle Graves. I hope this hasn't been too difficult, but it is so serious. And if we can get upset about Ukraine and about inflation, certainly you can get a little bit upset about are your affairs in order with someone that you love prayerfully and that you can trust. Take care of yourselves. Be safe in these days. And as always, God bless you richly. You take care now. Bye-bye.